What is good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Mario versus Donkey Kong. This is a remake of the classic Game Boy Advance game, completely redone on the Nintendo Switch with brand new 3D graphics, nice audio, all sorts of improvements, additions, upgrades, features, and I think that it's going pretty good so far. So we're going to break down all of the incredible and great reviews, the okay reviews, the middle reviews, and the lower end reviews, and kind of see exactly what this game is about. Now, it does have a $50 price tag, so that was a little bit of a point of contention for many people out there. So is it worth that amount? Well, let's go ahead and jump into the reviews here, starting off right now with a 77 overall Metacritic average. Now, that means it's generally favorable. It is a green score, so that's definitely good. It's not in the mix and obviously not in the bad score. Right now, we have 60 plus reviews. We've got 43 of them being positive, 66% so far, and about 20 of them being mixed. So that is about 74 or so and down, but we have 0 negative reviews. So pretty much every single reviewer so far that has played the game generally likes the game and feels that it's not a bad experience overall. Just some had a lot more fun than others with it, which I guess is the whole case in point with many different games out there. But if you want to get a pulse of if this game is worth it, obviously there is a demo, and then of course you can kind of cross-reference it with some of the reviews here. So let's get into the top scores so far. Player 2, they gave it a 10 out of 10. There's only one 10 out of 10 score, and I'm not sure if this game is worthy of a 10 out of 10, but somebody did give it that. And they said this won't be one for the action platformer fans, but if you're after something a little more cruisy to get that puzzle brain tickling, this will likely do the job. It's safe to say I had a great time chasing after that big gorilla and getting far too attached to my mechanical children in the process. All right, now we've got quite a number of 9 out of 10s. I'm actually pretty impressed with this. So Screen Rant gave the game a 9 out of 10 and said Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a must play for puzzle lovers. Books gave it a 9 out of 10 and said, on paper, it might not look like there's a lot to this game, but with the addition of 2 new worlds, time attack, co-op play, and the ability to scale the difficulty should you get stuck, there's plenty to offer for everyone. Now, a new generation can experience Mario vs. Donkey Kong. All right, good stuff there. Next up is from My Nintendo News with a 9 out of 10, and they had this to say. What used to be one of the best puzzle platformers on the GBA is now one of the best on Switch. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a faithful remake that goes above and beyond in just about every facet. Whether you've already played the original or are completely new to the series, with modern graphics alongside brand new modes, levels, and features, it's easy to recommend this charming remake based on one of the most iconic rivalries of all time. If you're still not convinced, you can try out the free demo available now on the Nintendo eShop. And of course, Mario vs. Donkey Kong is out on February 16th. All right, good stuff there. Next up is from Atomics. They gave it a 9 out of 10 and had this to say, a great return for a great GBA game. The number of new things and quality of life improvements makes this remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong a must-have. Now, the thing that I noticed when I played this game was just how smooth it is. As someone who never played the original on the Game Boy Advance and never was interested in Mario vs. Donkey Kong at all, I did have a little bit of a, oh my gosh, like wow moment when I played it, and there was the HD rumble and the nice little sound effects and everything. It just felt super smooth, snappy, and quick to play and fun as you went through all these different levels. And yes, that rivalry, that original rivalry between Mario and Donkey Kong is really cool, and they kind of ham it up a little bit for this game. So I do love that about it. Now, we got one more 9 out of 10 to go over, and that's from Eurogamer Poland, and they had this to say, 9 out of 10. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is an enjoyable remake of an acclaimed puzzle platformer hybrid from the Game Boy era. All features of the original are included, but the formula is mixed with some fresh elements and completely new levels. The addition of 2 gameplay modes was a good decision, as this makes the game suitable for gamers of all ages. All right, now let's get into the 8 out of 10s. We're gonna start off with IGN Italia. They gave it an 8.5 out of 10 and said this, starting with a video game released in 2004 and intended for the handheld market, Nintendo has done an excellent job producing an intriguing and incredibly rich remake that provides hours of entertainment. All right, next up, 8.5 from Voxel, and they said Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a faithful remake with a few new features that mix in well with the original content. Aside from its high price and short duration, this is the kind of game that's so harmless and fun that it's hard to not recommend to puzzle platformer fans. So yes, they did mention the high price, the $50, and how it's kind of short, even though there is a bunch of new content. There is 100+ levels in here. There is co-op and some new modes, but don't expect it to be like 30, 40, 50 hours of content here overall. All right, next up is from Well Play. They gave it an 8.5 out of 10 and had this to say: Mario vs. Donkey Kong remains an enjoyable puzzle platformer as it did back on the Game Boy Advance, freshened up and featuring a small number of modern and welcome additions. All right. Next up, we've got Hobby Consolas, 8.2 out of 10, and said Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a great remake of one of the most special and fun games in the history of Nintendo. The graphical and sound renovation is perfect, and the cooperative mode is fantastic. Perhaps it may lack some incentive for veterans, but the game is an absolute gem if you've never tried the saga. All right. CG Magazine, 8 out of 10. And said Mario vs. Donkey Kong is an excellent little pocket puzzler that is sure to please fans and newcomers alike. Game Reactor UK, 8 out of 10. At the end of the day, Mario vs. Donkey Kong is simply effortlessly fun, and that's what you come to the Mustached Plumber for. Yes, sir. That's exactly what we do that for. All right, next up, Games.ch, 8 out of 10. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is more than a simple remake of a GBA original. Beside the fine modernized graphics, there are more worlds and levels, a new co-op, and die speedrun mode. If you love the original or just a great combination of classic platformer and puzzle game, this remake should make your way to your Switch. All right, Inverse, 8 out of 10. Mario vs. Donkey Kong keeps things very simple. It's about jumping up, surviving obstacles, and rescuing cute toys. But most important of all, it's fun. I think that fun needs to make sure that we emphasize that, because too many times people think about other things and think about all this other stuff. But really at the end of the day, it's about how fun the game is. And I think that's what the reviews are showing here. Some people felt that maybe this game wouldn't review as highly, but no, it's doing pretty good. 77+ so far. We'll see if it goes up or down. But overall, a lot of good 9s and 8s from various different websites, not just Nintendo websites. So that's definitely a good thing to see. Twinfinite, shout outs to Twinfinite, they gave it an 8 out of 10 and said, I enjoyed my HD revisit of Mario vs. Donkey Kong quite a bit, even to the point of earning every badge in the game. While there's not a lot here that will appeal to those who weren't attracted by the original game, it's still a solid remake and adds fun new stages in HD polish. All right, next up, WCCF Tech, 8 out of 10. Mario vs. Donkey Kong may lack the razzle-dazzle of its star's more recent games, but this remake still has the power to hook players with its tried and true retro platforming and finely tuned difficulty curve that accumulates in some challenges that will truly test your mind and reflexes. Those who have played the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong to death may not find quite enough new content here, but lapsed fans and new players are in for a barrel of fun. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think most people probably haven't played this game. I mean, it was a GBA game, right? And GBA sold 80 million. I don't think this game sold anywhere near that. Nintendo Switch has sold over 140 million units. So I think most people that are seeing this are probably first-time players. I know I didn't play it back then, and I was alive and kicking and had money to spend on video games back then. And I, never played it. So it is what it is there. All right, next up, Game Informer, 8 out of 10, and had this to say: Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a simple game, but as the case with Mario's best titles, there's an elegance to that simplicity. Nintendo has done a stellar job adding features to make it more palatable to a modern audience, but only comes together because of how well the classic levels hold up. Mario and Donkey Kong have been rivals for over 40 years, and this game admirably carries that legacy forward. Awesome to hear as well. Shaq News, 8 out of 10. What changed and what remains the same in Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Switch is a little confusing at times. It raises the question of why a remake was the best choice and not a full new game. Still, if it ain't broke and all that, the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong holds up nearly 20 years later, and nearly every new addition makes the already strong puzzle game even better. All right, yeah, sounds good there. All right, Eurogamer, 8 out of 10. A high score from Eurogamer here. And they said, to get to the end of this short campaign, and you realize it isn't short at all, with time attacks and plus levels and expert levels unrolling before you, it's a lovely package and another pleasant stop on the Switch's protracted farewell. The more I played, the more I found myself collecting fragments of memories of the GBA original, which I thought I had lost. Familiarity then and forgotten pleasures. Isn't that what Vegas residency should be all about? All right, sounds good, Eurogamer. Let's get to the 7 out of 10 scores, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. So, got just a few 7 out of 10s, not too many. God is a Geek, 7.5 out of 10, and said Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a nice time for all, but those seeking major challenge or wholesale changes to the original might not find what they need here. Interesting, because we just talked about how there's a bunch of challenge levels and stuff like that. So interesting to see some people maybe seeing it a bit easier than others. Next up, Checkpoint Gaming, 7.5 out of 10, and said Mario vs. Donkey Kong has been remade nearly perfectly, and it's certainly great for any forgotten title to get an update and a facelift. The platforming is still tight, but the simple truth is that puzzle games as a genre have moved on in the 20 years since the original. That means nothing about it really stands out, either as a puzzle game or a Mario game. Still, that doesn't mean you won't have fun with it as you wait for Nintendo's next mainline Mario. All right, good stuff there. Destructoid, 7.5 out of 10, and said, I could see myself blasting through levels of Mario vs. Donkey Kong while waiting for a flight at the airport or on a train to work, and that's the best case scenario for this package. Brimming with bite-sized platforming challenges, it may not contain all the spectacle of others, but there's enough precise jumping and quick calculations here to satisfy the more hardcore, goal-oriented, score-chasing Mario players around. All right, now we're moving on to the mixed scores. These are the scores that are under 75. So we have Power Unlimited with a 7.2 yellow mix score and says the timeless essence of Mario vs. Donkey Kong is honored in this faithful remake, while retaining the somewhat dated gameplay. However, with a visual upgrade, multiplayer options, and a relaxed play mode, the game receives a fresh appeal, making it still worthwhile in 2024. Okay, Nintendo Life with a 7 out of 10 and said Mario vs. Donkey Kong serves up a slick return to the 2004 GBA adventure that finds fresh fun in cooperative play. Yep, the new co-op mode really is the star of the show this time out, and alongside 2 new worlds, plus versions of each level, a time attack mode, and fancy new looks and sounds, there's plenty to dig into and enjoy with a core puzzle/platforming setup that is aged quite well. Just be aware that if you're more of a seasoned gamer looking for platforming challenges, this game finds its strengths as an experience for younger gamers or as a co-op title to enjoy with your kids. Taken as such, it absolutely earns a recommendation. All right. Next up is from IGN, 7 out of 10, and they said, coming in the wake of Super Mario Bros. Wonder's psychedelic splendor, Mario vs. Donkey Kong's update of the 2004 Game Boy Advance version is a markedly more modest Mario adventure in scope, but I still enjoy puzzling my way through its trap-riddled rooms while they lasted, particularly those found in its playful pair of brand new worlds that have interesting new takes on the decades-old mechanics. The lopsided difficulty of its main levels could have perhaps been smoothed out so that it becomes more challenging as you go rather than easier, and some occasional control flaws seem below the standard I've come to expect from Nintendo platformers, but its completely overhauled art is packed with personality, and its 2-player co-op mode puts a fun new spin on familiar gameplay. Mario vs. Donkey Kong might not be as polished as a mini Mario toy fresh off the assembly line, but it's just as full of charm and fun to play with. IGN's writers there. But yeah, either way, shout outs to IGN. Let's go. All right. Next up is from Pocket Tactics, 7 out of 10. And they said, while it takes its time to build momentum, once it clicks with you, Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a rewarding and enjoyable remake and another win for the Mario franchise. This simple gameplay gets deceptively tricky and is supported by wonderful visuals. Just make sure you stick with it. All right. GameSpot, 7 out of 10. Mario vs. Donkey Kong feels very retro in certain respects. It's designed to be played in short bursts, which can feel anachronistic on a modern handheld hybrid that's perfectly suited for long play sessions, but it's also a throwback in the best ways, recapturing the clever aha moments of puzzle platforming that made its predecessors so memorable, all while packing distinct visual improvements and quality of life tweaks that bring out its charm like never before. All right, good stuff there. All right, now let's get into the 6 out of 10s. These are the scores that are kind of like, meh, but all right, it is what it is. So this is first up, we've got Digital Trends, 6 out of 10, and said this. For those who harbor warm nostalgia for the Game Boy Advance era, Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a fun and faithful remake with some new puzzles and unexpectedly terrific soundtrack. It's an odd choice for a revisit though, as the first draft puzzles and rigid movement of the original release poke through the Switch's version's modern facade. It's less than exciting new Switch game and more like something light to hold Nintendo fans over while they wait for a shiny new console. All right, VGC 6 out of 10 and said Mario vs. Donkey Kong offers a notable step up in visual quality from its 20-year-old source material, but the same can't be said for its gameplay mechanics, which remain largely unchanged. While it's no doubt appealed to the purists who love the GBA original, those discovering it for the first time may find it too easy and not up to the same standards as modern, similarly priced Mario releases. All right, so I'm not sure what price modern releases they're talking about. I guess maybe $10, right? That's the difference, because most Mario games are 60, Mario Party and all the other games. But yeah, either way, I think he just means like, yeah, it's like only $10 cheaper. I think that if this game was $29.99 or $39.99, there'd be a lot of different opinions when it comes to some of the lower end review scores here. That makes sense too, right? $49.99 compared to like $29.99 or even $39.99. I think people would have felt a little bit differently when it comes down to it. So yeah, I understand that too. All right, next up is from Gamers Hub. This will be the last 6 out of 10 that we go over. And they said it's not overly ambitious and there are very safe choices in its approach, but Mario vs. Donkey Kong is still a lovely time and provides relief in a storm of more complex and frustrating puzzlers. It's certainly a product of its era, but it works wonderfully well as a callback to simpler times. All right, there you go. So Mario vs. Donkey Kong, overall a 77 average, really good so far. I think that that is a great score for this type of game. It's not the biggest Mario game out there, and it's one of those games that really, if you look back at what it's done, its legacy and everything, a lot of people probably missed this. And they wanted to have a faithful remake of this GBA original. So I do like the fact that they look back at this and that we are getting this type of game. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to Mario versus Donkey Kong on the Nintendo Switch, the remake? Do you plan on picking it up, maybe waiting for a sale, checking out the demo, making your decision from there? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.